Hi, Verbling. My name's Michaela. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and today we're talking about phrasal verbs. Alex, welcome to class.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you, Alex?
I'm great. Thank you.
Did,
Thank you.
did you put a new picture up?
Sorry?
Is that a new picture you have up, or are you a new student?
No, I'm new. I
Ah,
I knew
awesome.
your
Well,
class. Your class.
it's nice to meet you, Alex. Where are you from?
Thanks. I'm from Spain.
Very
I live
nice. And how long have you been with Verbling?
I've been taking classes since June.
Since June. Wow.
June.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to have you here with us.
You're welcome.
Tatiana, welcome to class.
Hello, thank you.
How's your weekend going, Tatiana?
In the Veblen class.
You're studying a lot this weekend?
Yeah.
Excellent. Great use of your time. And Rafael, welcome back.
Hi, Michaela.
Good to have you in another class today.
Yeah, thanks.
And Bob, welcome to class.
Hi.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Fine, thanks. You?
Doing really well. Have I had you in class before?
No, that's the first time.
Well, it's good to meet you. Where are you from?
I'm from Rome, in Italy.
Very nice. Glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
All right. So, today we're talking about phrasal verbs. And I'm going to put the notes in the chat box for you. I think the formatting of the notes might be a little confusing today. So I just looked at it and it looks a little bit weird, looks a little off. So we might have to, well, hopefully things don't get weird, but we might have to change documents at some point because some of these exercises look like the formatting got all messed up, unfortunately. I am not a computer expert, and I changed it to a document, and then everything got squished together. So sorry about that. Paola, welcome to class.
Thanks. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, very well.
Having a good weekend so far?
So far, actually, I have to work all the weekend.
Oh, too bad. Why?
Yes, because my job involves shifts. So because I am a policeman here in Italy.
Crime never stops, right?
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
All right. Well, I'm glad you made time to study with us this weekend, too.
Yes, sure. Yes.
And Heidi, welcome to class.
Hello. Nice to see you again.
Nice to have you back. Cute Hello Kitty picture.
Thank you.
All right. So I put the document in the chat box. We're going to start here today, and then if the exercises start making no sense, we will switch to a new document. I'll screen share too for anybody who needs to look at the notes off my computer. There we go. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the question on the first page. What is the difference between the phrasal verb give out and the verb distribute? That comes from a Latin root. So we've got two verbs that are really similar, give out and distribute. Can anyone tell me what the difference is between these two verbs?
The meaning is the same, I think.
The meaning is the same. So we use it in the same context, right?
Yes, but I think that we use the Latin root to write in a more formal way, or to speak in a more formal way than with phrasal verbs, for example.
Exactly. So anything with a Latin root is going to be a little more formal than its phrasal verb partner. So even though these phrases mean the same thing, one is formal and one is a little less formal. And that's an important distinction to make because sometimes we have a lot of words that seem like they mean almost exactly the same thing. But this kind of context use would be a little bit different for each one. And so I know that people who already speak a Latin language, like Spanish or Italian or French, they're usually drawn to words like distribute because they're similar to their Latin root. So it's a little easier to remember. But unfortunately, phrasal verbs are a necessary evil because if you start replacing all the phrasal verbs with their Latin root partners, the sentences start to sound really strange and a little bit awkward. All right, so let's start. We're not going to do too much of a review today because I'm assuming that most of you have already talked a little bit about phrasal verbs. So before we go in, let's just make a brief statement about what exactly a phrasal verb is. Tatiana, can you start us off and tell us what a phrasal verb is?
Phrasal verb express the meaning of another word.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For
So
example,
we've got a phrase that means something. Go ahead.
For example, I have a bad habit and I want to break this habit. It's another phrasal verb I can use in this situation, give up.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah, you can give up a bad habit. Definitely. So
Maybe,
sometimes
but I know another expression, to get monkey on the back. This is idiom, yes? It's not phrasal verb, it's idiom.
Yeah, totally. That's a good idiom when you have a monkey on your back, like some kind of problem that you can't quit thinking about.
Okay.
Totally. Thank you, Tatiana. Rafael, can you give us any more information about what a phrasal verb is or how we use phrasal verbs?
I think it's a combination of a verb and the preposition, which can change partially or completely the meaning of the verb, I think.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Things change pretty quickly. Paolo, how about you?
Yes.
Can you give us any more information about what a phrasal verb is or how we use them?
I think we use them to pretend to be more fluent and more native, like a native. And but I think we have to be careful because there are two kind of phrasal verbs. There is a kind of phrasal verb that we can where we can put a, how can I say, a subject in the middle of the verb and the preposition. Instead, there are other kind of phrasal verbs where we can put the subject in the middle of the phrasal verbs.
Yes, definitely. So we have to be careful about that. And how do you know if it's separable or inseparable?
I think it's just you have to memorize them.
Exactly. That's the unfortunate part, is that we have to be really careful and there is no rule. So some of them are separable, some of them are not, and you just have to know. It's really difficult.
You have to learn by heart.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Paulo. Hussein, do you have any information you can add?
No, but I can say a phrasal verb is a verb which consists of a verb and a preposition. Like,
yeah, that's great information to have.
Yeah.
Like what?
Like, for example, back up or come down on or give up, someone said here. The prepositions are the second one, generally. Sometimes there are some phrasal verbs which consist of three words, like come down on, and yeah.
Exactly. So those are the necessary parts of a phrasal verb. Excellent information to have. Bob, can you give us any more information or examples or anything you struggle with about phrasal verbs?
I think that another important thing is that we usually use express to who is the phrasal verb referred. So, for example, to put something up or calm someone down.
Totally.
I think it's necessary to express also who was referred the verb.
Excellent advice. And Alex, last but not least, you've got a tough job. Is there anything else you can add to the information we've given so far?
I think phrasal verbs give accuracy to the meaning of the sentence.
They give what? A curiosity?
No, accuracy.
Oh, accuracy.
Accuracy.
Yeah, so tell us in what way. What do you think?
For example, I don't know. If we say to turn down the volume.
Turn down the volume.
Yes. In which another way we can see this without using a phrasal verb?
Another way to say that expression?
To decrease or reduce the volume.
Yeah, definitely. So they're very different phrases, but they both mean about the same thing. One with a phrasal verb and without, right?
Yeah, it's in this example, it's the same. Maybe it's not the.
No, I think that's a great example of how we have words or phrases that mean the same thing, but the phrasal verb, like we talked about earlier, would be a little less formal. And then you could say reduce the volume. That sounds a little more formal. So they're definitely common. All right. Anyone else want to add something before we do some exercises together? I think you guys pretty much got all the very important information. So let's go on.
I think that phrasal verb usually to mean something different from the meaning of the verb.
Oh, yes, that's an excellent point to make. That the verb used in most phrasal verbs doesn't really retain the meaning. So something like get out really doesn't have anything to do with the original meaning of the verb get. Totally changes. Excellent. All right. So on the next page we have, or maybe it's the beginning of this page. Yeah, next page. Oops, sorry, not next page. So our first exercise here, we're going to rewrite these sentences in a more informal style using the appropriate form of these phrasal verbs. So we have some sentences, and you guys are going to look for the definition or the phrasal verb that you can use to make that sentence less formal. And let's see. I'm not exactly sure what happened here. There were some formatting issues with this document. And I'm not sure what these phrasal verbs were supposed to be. So let's try and find out. We will find out together what these phrasal verbs are. So sentence number 1, Rodrigo, will you read it for us? Welcome to class, by the way.
Okay. Uh, you should complete this form and return it with your payment.
Thank you very much. So we'll do this one together, and I'll give you guys a hint. It's a little confusing because if you guys see where I'm highlighting right now, that was supposed to be the phrasal verb that goes with number 1.
Fill in.
Yeah, there we go. So that one is supposed to be fill in. Because of weird formatting issues, it became a question mark, but it should be fill in. So can anyone rewrite this sentence using that verb? The verb fill in?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
You should fill in this form and return it with your payment.
Thank you very much. And how about number 2? This time, Tatiana, will you read it for us and decide which verb is best?
Okay. My father has abandoned his attempt to get the university to abolish tuition fees.
All right. So what verbs could we replace there? Can anyone help us?
My father gave up his attempt to get the university to abolish tuition fees.
Definitely. So we can replace give up, or in this case, gave up, for abandoned. And what about abolish? Is there any phrasal verb that you guys can think would be a good replacement for abolish?
To call off.
Maybe
Yeah,
cut,
you could say call off maybe. What else?
cut back on.
Cut back on would be a great one too. So there are 2 different phrasal verbs that we might use here, but they mean something different. So if you say cut back on, you're talking about like reducing something. And the other one we said was, what was the other one?
Call off.
Call off would be one we could use here, and that would be something like canceling. So either we could say to cancel the tuition fees or reduce the tuition fees, or even there's another one we could put here like do away with, and that would be again like cancel. Do away with tuition fees would be to cancel them. All right. Number 3.
Repeat please about third sentence.
The third sentence?
It was necessary to take off, or?
We haven't read the third sentence yet. You mean the second verb in the second sentence?
Yeah, no, third.
We haven't read the third sentence yet.
Okay.
All right. And let's do that one now. Rafael, can you read it for us?
It was necessary to reduce our spending after we discovered that our rent was increasing.
And can anyone decide which verbs we might be able to replace to make this a less formal sentence?
Cut back on.
Cut back on would be great. That's a synonym to reduce. So cut back on our spending after we discovered that our rent was increasing. Any other changes we could make?
Yep. And also find out instead of discover.
Yeah, that would be an awesome one. So it was necessary to cut back on our spending after we found out that our rent was increasing. And there's even one more we could add here. What could we say instead of increasing?
Take off.
Could be take off, but I think there's a better one. Go up. Yeah. So after we found out that our rent was going up. So we can replace a whole 3 verbs here to make it a more common sentence. All right, number 4. Paolo, will you read number 4 for us?
Yes, number 4. Please observe local customs at the temple and remove your shoes before entering.
Okay, does anyone know what we would replace there?
Go along with. Observe.
Yes.
Yes, and the remove is remove. Take off.
Totally. Take off and
Take off your shoes, yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay. So we have another exercise. Complete this text with appropriate phrasal verbs using these phrasal verbs, or these verbs and particles. So this exercise is a little more complicated because the verbs and the particles are separated. We talked about how every phrasal verb has at least one actual verb in it and one particle, sometimes two particles. So we have all the verbs at the top and all of the particles at the bottom. We have bend, breathe, go, lift, push, raise, stand, away, back, down, in, out, up. And these two have numbers next to them because you can potentially use the word breathe 2 times and the particle up 3 times. Okay, so I will read this for us, and every time we get to a blank, I'm going to stop and we're going to put something in it. When you have to spend a lot of time sitting at a desk, it is important to take short breaks and stretch your neck and back. You can use this exercise to help you stretch. And then we have a sentence, number 1, that has a blank your chair blank to the side. Can anyone think of words we could put there?
Maybe
Lift up.
So, okay.
Raise your chair.
There might be multiple possible answers we could put here, but it says to the side. So since we know the direction the chair is going, it's not going to be raise because raise is something up.
Push. Push back, push away, or push back. Push away, maybe.
Yeah, I think either of those might work. So you can say push your chair back or away to the side. Probably, I think away might be a little better, but both of them would be fine. Push your chair away to the side and stand up, making sure there is some space in front of you. Then number 2, we have a blank, straight.
Stand.
Stand up.
Stand up straight with your arms hanging loosely by your side. Breathe in deeply as you blank your arms.
Lift up.
Yeah, lift your arms
Up.
up over your head. Pause a moment, then blank slowly as you swing your arms forward.
Bend.
Bend slowly.
Bend
Okay,
down.
bend is not a what? Bend is not a phrasal verb by itself.
Down.
Bend down.
Sure, bend down slowly as you swing your arms forward. Is there any other phrase we could put here?
Breathe. Breathe up slowly.
Did you say breathe up?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if there's a phrasal verb like that.
Yes, I think breathe is great, but usually we would say breathe in slowly, or breathe out slowly. Either of those would work. So both of those we suggested, bend or breathe, would be great. So slowly, as you swing your arms forward, letting them fall as you blank your whole body.
As you bend back your whole body.
So you bend your whole body
back.
Okay, it could be back, but look at the rest of the sentence. The end of the sentence says, until your hands are near your feet. So if you bend
up, bend down.
Bend down would be great.
No.
Bend down. So bend down, bend your whole body down until your hands are near your feet. That probably would be a little bit more comfortable than bending back until your hands are by your feet. Pause a moment. Then, number 6, blank as you blank.
Breathe.
Sure, breathe would be good. So breathe
in.
In as you blank your body blank very slowly.
As you bend your body down.
Okay, but since we already said that we're down with our hands at our feet.
Bend your body up.
Up.
Okay, but in that case, you're not actually bending. Bending is when you make a crease in something.
As you raise your body up.
Yeah, raise your body up would be one great way to say it, or you could even say lift your body up. That would be another one that works. So you could say raise or lift your body up. So we said then raise or lift your body up. And what was number 6? So we had blank as you raise your body up or lift your body up.
Breathe in.
Oh yeah, breathe in. Breathe in as you lift your body up very slowly. Beginning with your hips, then your upper body, followed by your head and arms. Repeat the exercise at least once before you blank to your desk again.
Go back.
You go back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Go back to your desk again. Excellent. Does anyone have this problem where they're sitting at their desk for too long and then they need to like shake it out a little bit or exercise?
I've done right now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what do you do when you're like feeling all scrunched up and you need to move around? Do you dance a little or?
Just make circles with my hips. Hands up, hands down, stretch a little bit.
Totally. I do the same thing. In fact, I was just going to say that sometimes when I have a lot of verbling classes, like today, for instance, I have 6 classes in a row, and I hate sitting down for 6 hours in a row. So sometimes I change to the standing position, like I am today. I'll sit down for a class and then stand up for a class, and I put my computer on a bunch of boxes so that it can be a little higher. And secretly, sometimes when I put the screen share up, I'm like, you know, when you guys can't see me, I'm like moving around, kind of like going back and forth, because otherwise staying still for too long really makes me like sore. All right, so now you guys know what I'm doing when the screen share is up. All right, any questions before we go on to the next exercise?
No.
Awesome. So the next one we're going to, I'll put my screen share back up. Sorry about that. All right. So in the next exercise, we're going to choose A or B or both as appropriate sentences to use each time in creating this dialogue. So we're going to read through a little bit of dialogue, and you guys have to choose which is better for the context A or B. So, Annie, what's the meaning of reimburse? And then we have Raz's response. And Alex, will you read Raz's response for us? You don't have to answer, just read it.
Annie, what's the meaning of reimburse? Raz, I don't know. Let's look it up in the dictionary. The second one.
Awesome. So why did you think the second one is better than the first one?
It sounds me familiar more than the first one.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes that's the only way we can tell. But does anyone else know exactly what is the problem with the first one?
Because when we use it, him, her, we must use it in the middle of the phrasal verb, like look it up, look him up, look her up.
Yeah.
But we can say like I look up the dictionary, maybe.
Also because look up has another meaning, maybe.
What's the other meaning for look up?
No, I think that look up is different to say look something up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the difference. So we're using a pronoun here. And when we use a pronoun with a separable phrasal verb, which this is a separable phrasal verb, and like we talked about earlier, there's really no way to know it's a separable phrasal verb, except to, if you hear it enough times, then you'll start to hear it and you'll say, oh no, that sounds terrible. That doesn't sound right. And it's really tough because there's no real rule. You just have to know. And in this case, B is right because the one in A puts the pronoun at the end. When in this particular phrasal verb, we need to put the pronoun in the middle because it's separable. Okay. So number 2.
But is it an error? Because
Is it what?
is it an error, a mistake to put it?
Number 1, A is a mistake. So B is definitely best. Now, if you were going to change it to something else, like for instance, if you used the word, since we're talking about reimburse, you could say, let's look up the word in the dictionary, or let's look the word up in the dictionary, and both of those are fine.
Okay.
But since it's a pronoun, we have to put it at the end.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Great question. Bob, will you read number 2 for us?
Okay. Honey, hand over the dictionary and I'll do it. Hand it over the dictionary and I'll do it.
So what do you guys think? Which is better?
The first one, maybe.
Yeah, first
And
one.
why do you think the first one's better?
It sounds better.
Yeah, totally.
Because the pronoun in the second one, it refers to the dictionary, and he mentioned the dictionary after.
Yeah.
Yes,
It
that's the problem.
refers to dictionary as well. Hand it over the dictionary.
Exactly. So in this case, we shouldn't use both of them. We have to choose. And what if I... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, question. Does hand over means pass me the dictionary?
Yep. That's
Okay.
exactly right.
Thank you.
And what if we didn't use the dictionary, but I said, hand it over and I'll do it? Is that correct or incorrect? Does anyone know?
Correct.
Yeah. So we can just choose, basically. The B is wrong because it uses both of them, and you can't use both of them. But A is right, or if we didn't want to say A, we could also say, hand it over and I'll do it without using the dictionary. All right. Number 3. Hussein, will you read it? Hussein, are you there? All right. How about Paulo? Read number 3 for us.
Me? Okay, I left behind it at home this morning, and B is I left it behind at home this morning. I think is the second one,
Yeah.
the best choice.
And do you know why?
Because it's just it when there is a it or him or her or us, we can't put at the end.
Exactly. For this one, we have to put it in the middle.
Yes.
Great job. All right. Number 4.
So
Rodrigo.
we can.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
Question?
teacher. We
No,
can
question.
put.
Go ahead.
I left my luggage behind at home this morning. I can put
Yes.
luggage,
Mhm.
for example. Okay.
Mhm. Exactly. All right. And Rodrigo, will you read number 4?
I think I put down beside my computer. I think I put it down beside my computer. I think the second one.
And why?
Because he asked him about the dictionary, and in the first one they didn't use any pronoun referring to the dictionary or mention the name.
Yeah. The object is missing from sentence A, but in B we have that pronoun to give us an object. Excellent. And we have a little bit more. Rodrigo, will you finish reading number 4? It has a little more here for us.
Okay, so we can't use a dictionary. What's the context? It says they reimbursed his tuition fees.
Tatiana, will you read number 5 for us?
Okay. Maybe it means they worked out what his tuition was. Maybe it means they worked what his tuition was out. I think A. Maybe it means they worked out what his tuition was. Am I right?
Sorry. Yes. A is right. And thank you very much. And Alex, you're up next. Will you do number 6 for us?
Okay. But then it says he paid off some debts. But then it says he paid off some. Is the first one.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
Similar to some of the others we've seen. Thank you very much, Alex. Number 7, Bob.
Sorry, the mic was off. Just a question. Paid off is for completely pay?
Uh-huh.
Okay. The 7 is maybe it means to pay back money to someone, or maybe it means to pay money back to someone. I think the second one. Maybe it means to pay money back to someone.
And why do you say B?
Pay money because the money is between pay and back. Because the form seems to me more correct.
It might be slightly more correct to use B. I think you're right. But honestly, both of these are okay. Because, like we said before, if you use the actual object and you're not using a pronoun, then we frequently can put it in the middle or at the end. Like, look it up in the dictionary, or look the word up in the dictionary, or look up the word. And this is similar. So we're just moving the object from at the end to the middle, and both of these are acceptable.
Okay, so it doesn't change nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't really change anything here. All right, number 8. Hussein, are you there?
Yep.
Awesome. Will you do number 8 for us?
Yep. So they gave back him the money for his tuition. So they gave him back the money for his tuition. B. It's the true one.
Thank you very much. And then will you finish reading number 8 for us?
Sounds good to me.
Thank you. So what is the meaning of reimburse, which is the word we started with? Does anybody know?
It's like to refund.
Refund, yes. That's a great synonym. So give back money or refund someone. Awesome. Any questions before we go on? No? Okay, so the next part of our document is total garbage because it didn't format properly. So it's just pages and pages of words that make no sense. So we're not going to do that part. But before that, it says, make a list of phrasal verbs with helpful information and add to it frequently. Does anyone in here keep a list of phrasal verbs?
Yes, I do. I write down. I usually write down every kind of words that I don't remember, or it's a bit weird and unusual. So I think afterwards I revise them in this my notebook because
Yeah,
because
great
I've got
idea.
yes, I've got my brain like a sieve, so I
Yeah.
need to write down something.
Does anyone else want to share their list of phrasal verbs or how they keep track of phrasal verbs? I am a big fan of lists myself, and lists of phrasal verbs are great to have because there's a lot of information you need to keep track of. You might need to keep track of whether it takes an object or not, which can be called transitive or intransitive. You might need to keep track of whether it's separable or inseparable, which is something we talked a lot about during the last exercise. And you might need to keep track of the definition because sometimes one phrasal verb will have 2 or 3 definitions for it that are different depending on the context. So that's a lot of information for just one little phrase to have. And it's great if you have a list that you can write things down, partially because it's helpful just to write things down. That helps you remember it in itself, but also because then if you ever have a question, you can go back and refer to that list. So the rest of our document was going to be a little dictionary for you guys with a lot of phrasal verbs. But like I said, it didn't turn out well. It's all messed up. So I'm just going to give you guys a link for a list of phrasal verbs that many students have found helpful in the past. So you guys can open this if you like, or look off my screen share if that's helpful too.
Thank you.
And it's just a list. It's a very simple list of phrasal verbs, their meaning, and an example sentence. So that'll give you a lot of information, but maybe not all the information you need. It's important to remember if they take object or not, or if they're separable or not. Sometimes the example sentence will show you if they're separable or not, or take an object or not. So the example sentence provides a lot of information as well.
Sorry,
But
Michaela.
yeah, go ahead.
A question about if they are separable or not. There's a rule about that, or simply the common use will show us if they are separable or not?
Yeah, that is the problem. It's just you have to know. There's no real way to tell the difference between a phrasal verb. So for instance, if you see a phrasal verb that you have never seen before, then it'll be really hard to know, because if you're unfamiliar with it, there's no way to know if it's separable or inseparable. So that's why the list is helpful, because if you write it down, then you'll be able to go back and check to see if you're using it properly, or to check yourself if you're ever writing, if you find yourself writing like an essay or anything in English, you can go back and check to see how you use it. But yeah, there's no real way to know if you've never seen the verb before.
Okay, thank you.
Which makes it a really complicated topic. Okay, so right now we're going to make some sentences. This list is phrasal verbs. There's like a few hundred phrasal verbs here probably, and they give you a lot of information. So what I want you guys to do is find a phrasal verb that you have never seen before and give me an entry. So if you had a list of phrasal verbs, you would probably want to say, does it take an object or not? And if it's separable or not? And then write an example sentence. So what I'd like you guys to do is just pick a verb and then give me that information about it. Say, my verb is get away and it's separable or inseparable, transitive or intransitive, and then give an example sentence. And I'll give you guys 2 or 3 minutes to do that. And if you have questions on like how can you tell if it's separable or inseparable, I can help you out. Probably the example sentence will show you if it is or isn't. And a lot of them have this verb there. If it's separable, they'll have something in the middle, like find something out. It means that one is separable.
Mikhail,
Yeah.
do we have to write a sentence or do we have to write an essay or something?
No, just a simple sentence would be fine. So you pick a verb you've never seen, and then try to understand it a little better by saying if it takes an object or if it doesn't, or if it's separable or inseparable, and then give yourself an example sentence of it.
I wrote one.
Excellent. Let's see. So they made us cheer up through coming here. Good sentence. So your verb is cheer up, right?
No.
Awesome. And does that take an object or not?
Object?
Yeah, like, well, some phrasal verbs you might,
okay.
Let me give you an example.
Okay, I got it. Like, you give it to me, it is the object, right? There. You give the pencil to me. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cheer up, I think it doesn't have object, cheer up.
So in your sentence, you're right. It doesn't have an object, but it can sometimes have an object.
Okay. I cheer someone up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So it can take an object, but it doesn't have to. And also, you gave us a little information there already, like cheer someone up. So that means it's separable. You can say cheer her up, cheer him up. So it's a separable phrasal verb, and it does take an object. Okay. Thanks, Hussein. And you can try again if you want. Pick another verb while everyone else is still writing their sentences.
I would choose cut in.
Great. Let's see.
And for instance, a sentence can be the police cut in while she was selling drugs.
So your phrasal verb is what? Catch in?
Cut in, yes.
Will you write that sentence in the chat box for us?
Oh, sorry, I wrote in my computer. Where does where should I write it?
The chat box should be on the right of your screen.
Okay.
Do you see it? It should be here.
Yes.
And while you're doing that, we have a couple others to read. Go over your book before the test. All right. And Rodrigo, can you explain to us a little bit about your verb?
To review your book before you take a test.
So go over would be like to review. So does this verb take an object or not?
Yes.
So here we've got book as the object. And is it separable or inseparable? For instance, can you say go your book over?
I think it is inseparable.
Inseparable, yes. This is a great example of a verb that cannot be separated. You cannot say go your book over. All right. Tatiana, We spent the weekend just hanging out in a bar. Awesome sentence. Tell us about your verb. Does it take an object? And is it separable?
Hang out. Uh, I don't understand what you do mean.
Okay, so in your sentence, we spent the weekend just hanging out in a bar. It's a great sentence, and it does not use an object. For instance, you can't say hang out her or hang her out.
Yeah. I don't use personal pronoun.
And is it separable or inseparable? So since we don't have an object, this isn't really even that important. But it's inseparable because you can never put something between the two words, like hang the bar out or something like that. Awesome. Thank you, Tatiana. Bob's sentence is next. The police cut in while she was selling drugs. Good one. So this means like to interrupt, right?
Yes.
Excellent.
And I think this is not the case, but I think that it can have subject, noun, sorry.
So give us an example of that.
The police catching the discussion, maybe?
Actually, we can't really do that with this one. This one is sort of like hang out. You can't add an object to it, and you can't separate them. And if you do, the verb actually changes. So if I said something like, I cut her in, that would mean that I give her money for something. So if you do use an object, the verb changes in meaning a little bit.
Okay.
Awesome. Next up, everybody has to chip in $20. We are going to buy a gift for him. It doesn't take an object. Thank you, Hussein. So, your verb is chip in?
Yep.
And you said it doesn't take an object?
Yep.
What is $20?
But it doesn't take an object between chip and in?
Okay, yes. So it can take an object, but not in the middle.
So it's not separable.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Now I see what you were saying. So you were saying that it's impossible to say to chip $20 in. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Thanks, Hussein.
Okay.
And he has back my words up. I didn't want to mean that. Alex, can you explain your sentence a little bit? What are you talking about?
Yes, it's like when you say something and another person confuse the meaning of the words you have said.
Interesting. So back up, when you say back up, what do you mean?
It's like reverse the meaning of your message.
Ah, I see. Okay. So in that case, if you're saying back up, that would not take an object. So the sentence is a little funny because backup can have various meanings, but in the sense you're using it, it doesn't take an object. So we can't say back my words up. Unless you mean like to save something on a computer, then you can use it. So to back up a document, you can say back my document up means to save it like on a hard drive or on a thumbnail drive or something like that. Thank you very much for your sentence. And we have 1 minute left, and also I'm sorry to student Mark that I didn't really get a chance to say hi to you, but this is the very end of our class today. Our last sentence we have is, after all the arguments I had with my parents, I think I could be cut off. Excellent sentence, Paulo. and tell us, does it take an object or not?
No, I don't think so. No.
No, it does not. Thank you very much. And I have to run because I'm starting another class about the American accent in just a few minutes. But thank you all for coming today and participating, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.
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 Thank you very much. Bye bye.